We'll jump to the story then. We have this from Washington Times. Trump ally Rep. Scott Perry says FBI seized his cell phone. One day after the raid on former President Donald Trump, the FBI has seized the cell phone of a Republican member of Congress. Rep. Scott Perry, Pennsylvania Republican, said in a statement to Fox News that 3 FBI agents handed him a warrant and demanded his phone. Quote, "This morning, while traveling with my family, 3 FBI agents visited me and seized my cell phone. They made no attempt to contact my lawyer, who would have made arrangements for them to have my phone, if that was their wish. I'm outraged, though not surprised, that the FBI, under the direction of Merrick Garland's DOJ, would seize the phone of a sitting member of Congress." Mr. Perry's statement did not elaborate on whether he was told anything about what the FBI was seeking on the phone. Mr. Perry is a founding member and current chairman of the conservative House Freedom Caucus.
Oh my gosh.
As a close ally of former President Donald Trump, the Democrat-appointed January 6 panel has shown interest in his communications with Trump around that time. It's fascinating. Wasn't Ron DeSantis also one of the founders of the Freedom Caucus?
I'm not sure. Question.
know that.
I would
Look it
believe
up.
it. I look it up.
We're big fans of the Freedom Caucus.
We are.
And I have to say, this is not surprising in the least. But, man, look, when a story like this happens, it's kind of like, oh, wow, that's bad. When Steve Bannon gets arrested, you're like, oh, wow, that's bad. After the raid on Donald Trump's home, it's a whole new territory. Mm-hmm. Now this is a sitting member of Congress had his phone seized by the feds.
Yeah, DeSantis did help start the Freedom Caucus.
Where we are right now is that it's not former administration officials. It is current elected representatives being targeted by the Department of Justice.
So where does this end? So I remember you talking
Civil War.
about... Yeah,
I said it.
of course, you said it. All right, take your drinks, everyone. So Tim talked about this situation where there would be 2 cars driving somewhere. I don't remember the story.
It was
Do you
Matt
remember
Taibbi. Matt Taibbi wrote this.
Really?
Matt Taibbi wrote, I think it was last October,
That's great.
that we will get to the arrest that man phase, which sparks a civil war where you will have 2 cars speeding towards a police jurisdiction where the men will jump out and then point at each other, arrest that man.
Is that where we are?
We're beyond that. So the question about that stuff is, will there be a fight over the institution of law enforcement? Democrats have weaponized it. Republicans are too weak. Look, I appreciate Rick Santorum being on this show, but he was like, no, we got to follow the rules. We can't do this stuff. And it's like, I'll see you in the gulag, brother.
Yeah. I'm full abolish the FBI at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the reality. It's like I think in the battle for law enforcement, there's still some Constitution adhering, awesome local police officers, sheriffs, and communities around the country. But the FBI, and I'm not saying that they're all bad apples, but my goodness, I mean, the whole institution itself has been robbed and is so centralized in nature. So I people still have hope for it. I don't. I think the only answer with the FBI, an institution that's as nationalized and centralized as that at this point, is get rid of it.
We're in like
Can't reform it.
A completely different reality. Maybe not completely, but relative to like 1970 when it was wiretapping phones and it was a big deal. Like when Nixon got found to be wiretapping the Democratic, whatever it was, the Democrats during his campaign.
Yeah, the DNC or whatever.
Now it's digital. So much data is stored digitally. And for these companies to be able, and I'm calling the FBI a company because it's kind of functioning like its own company, is able to just like peruse digital data and scrape huge amounts of people's data, conversations and stuff. It didn't exist in 50 years ago. So maybe we do need new rules and functions. But the thing is, de facto, whoever can do it is going to do it.
Yeah.
So
I saw Hassan Piker tweeted,
boy.
you're familiar with him, he's a left-wing guy. He said something about watching Steven Crowder cry to defund the FBI or whatever. And I'm like, hasn't Crowder ragged on the FBI for a really, really long time?
Yeah, this isn't new.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm like, I hear you, brother Hassan, when you're like cheering for Steven Crowder talking about defunding the FBI. And I'm like, many of us have been there for a while now. Maybe if you agree with that, maybe there's like a caucus that can be formed between progressives and Republicans where it's like, okay, we all agree. We're going to get rid of that one. Maybe the ATF while we're at it. I mean, they don't like the government, right? They're supposedly.
Yep.
So how about we all just say, abolish many of these DOJ, DHS institutions, huh? How about that?